Hey guys, welcome, or should I say, welcome back to another Honest Conversations where I share my opinions on anything happening in Grenada, social media, or what's just on my mind. And the topic that I'm discussing today is one that I've seen circulating in on Ladies Room, which I'm a big fan of the Ladies Room on Power 95. And it was a topic about, I'm going to put it here, uh, a grandmother requesting payment, to look after her grandchildren. And, both sides, and I'm going to use a double edged sword to flip it as well in regards to should children be paid for looking after their parents? So when your parents get elderly and you have to look after them, should you be paid for looking after them? Because that's the opposite of it. So a grandmother looking after her grandchildren, you looking after your mother and getting paid, like both ways. We're on the other edge of the spectrum. Because I've heard of both. I have a very close friend. Her grandmother in her 90s, she had to take care of her grandmother. She was working at the time. None of her grandmother's 7 or 8 children came to look after her. And when the conversation came up for one of the daughters to look after her mother, she was like, she wants her sister to pay her to look after her own mother. So when the family becomes that type of thing now, where everybody wants pay for looking after family members, where to me that is absolutely weird. Because growing up, I know everyone went by grandma's house. We go by granny house. After school, Easter vacation, carnival, Christmas, everyone was in granny house after school playing. We climbing tree, we doing this, we doing that. Is what we're doing. Grandmother calling us to do all kind of chores. Is what we're doing. And your grandmother did not get a cent. Most people grow up with their grandmother. So when you're hearing now that, mothers or grandmothers or grandparents are requesting, payments to look after their own flesh and blood, to me it's like we have lost community. We have lost family values because it takes a village to raise a child. And when they say that, it's that village includes the aunties, the grandmothers, the uncles, the cousins. That's that village. And now the village wants, and I'm not saying that the grandmother is obligated again, because I don't believe anybody's obligated to anything or anyone except for themselves and the children that they bring into the world. That's the only thing you are obligated towards yourself and the children that you bring into the world for you to take care of them until they're adulthood and they can take care of themselves. But so that's my stance on that. However, when we lose that family value where everybody requesting, if I had to look after my niece and my nephew, I want my sister to pay me to look after my niece and nephew. I just think like we have lost community, we have lost like that genuine love. No, I'm not saying you send your children over to the aunt or uncles or their grandparents and you just send them nothing, like willy nilly and just expect, which actually growing up, my parents never send nothing when we go by our grandparents either. But if you want to give them the little snack, if you want to give them whatever it is little you want to give them to go over there with, you go ahead and you do that. But it's I don't think like you should be paid, and that's just my opinion. Your village, your family, your very close knit family, for taking care of anyone in the family. So if your mother is elderly, I don't have to pay my sister to look after her own mother, or my sister has to pay me to look after my nephew, or my mother has to get paid for looking after her grandchildren. Where is the village? And that is why now we see in society a lot of mothers are so frustrated and they're so, tired and they go through a lot of postpartum depression because the village that is needed to help them to carry, this change in their life with their children and stuff, that village is not there. And then when they ask the village for help, the village come in and add additional pressure onto them by requesting money. Because I think, like if, she's thinking, okay, well, I'm able to save $200-300 a month by not sending the child my daycare or paying a babysitter. I have my mama there. And I am not saying you don't show your mother appreciation because I do believe 1000% you should show your mother appreciation for whatever she did. You buy her a gift, even if you want to say, Mommy, look at change, man. You go, you bring her out, whatever it is to show your appreciation towards her for looking after your children. I believe in that 1000%. But you shouldn't be like every month you're giving her like a salary. In my opinion, no. So when I saw, as I said, this, scenario, I really had to share my opinion on it because, I really feel like most of the people were like the mother is not obligated, and I understand that she's not obligated to look after your children for free. But when we look at things so nowadays, it's like we really lost the value of community, family, the village that is needed to raise children. So that's just my opinion. So share below if you agree or disagree. It is always peace and love, and see y'all in the next Honest Conversations.